My next review is of a book that was my second excursion into this author. One of his better-known shorter works of fiction. This is W. Somerset Maughm's The Moon and Sixpence. When this was published almost a century ago, I think it was published in 1915, I'm sure the story of a man abandoning his upper-middle-class English life, along with his wife and 2 children, to pursue the life of a libertine artist in Paris would have packed more of a guttural punch. And we really have to keep this in mind when we're reading the book. It's difficult to write about how and why people do such things beyond just saying they must, or else, according to the flight of their fanciful imagination, they will wither away and fail to fulfill their truest being. Right? That's not a very interesting short story. It's not a very interesting novel. But alas, that's not even enough to fill out, a paragraph, let alone a novella, as this is. Sometimes a short, studied approach like this one works for big, ponderous questions like the ones the novel raises, and sometimes it falls incredibly short. Maughm's writing was one of the things that struck me. He is perhaps maybe even better known for his short stories than for his novels, with maybe the exception of Human Bondage. This novel does have a very short story feel to it that could easily be make it easily read in a quick sitting. The only other piece I've read by Maughm was Razor's Edge, which, though written a whole generation later, Maughm lived quite a long life. I remember having much the same literary style, this sort of refined, sparse, not quite affected, but eloquent and gentle style. The writing, especially in the first half, is very artful and very, very balanced, and at the same time sort of epigrammatically clever and playful, so as to be unbelievable. I mean, it's just beautiful. Some of their quotations jump off the page at you, straight into your lap, and sort of beg to be included in the next edition of Bartlett's quotations. While this falls off a bit, I thought, toward the end, this is one of the few pieces of fiction I've read lately where the simple elegance and sheer unrepentant wit of the writing and of the style can't help but strike you. Despite the incredibly controlled writing, judging strictly as the book as whether it was able to shed any light onto the artistic process, or why someone would choose to repeatedly endure the gauntlets of the self-critical artist, I learned little from this book. Charles, who is the main character, didn't strike me as the heartless cad that I'm sure he probably appears to be to other readers. He's just pursuing what he thinks he needs to be fully happy. Maybe that's what Maughm is trying to insinuate through the title, that we should appreciate what we have. The moon. Most people seem to be perfectly happy with a spouse and 2 children without fulfilling their need to run away from everything and start all over again. Not only do we need the moon, but we need that one extra bit, because the grass is always greener on the other side, right? We always need that extra 6pence. Instead of just thinking, we can be happy, well-adjusted people without needing to want anything else at all other than just what we have. Should we hold it against Charles, though, that he makes such a drastic decision for himself to leave his life, his wife, his 2 children? It's unclear whether Maughm takes delight in punishing Charles for this decision, but he certainly weathers a lot of punishment for it. Living in near squalor once he moves to Paris, not selling any of his art, dying a slow and painful death, Of course, this book I had not mentioned before is modeled on the life of Paul Gauguin, who pretty much did the same thing, left his his middle class life and went to Tahiti to sort of chill out and paint. Of course, none of this is to say that he couldn't have mitigated this punishment by being a decent person. He is kind of a prick to his best friend Dirk's wife, who then would have gladly taken him in when he needed her most, when he was sick. Did Charles suffer the fate of being almost wholly unrecognized during his lifetime in the scourge of disease directly because he so eagerly embraced the reckless decision to leave his family? Is Maughm trying to make a moral point here? If so, it's a very subtle one. None of the language in the book comes across as sermonizing in tone. As with any good story, there are more questions than answers. Charles is certainly supposed to strike us, I would think, to make a forceful point. That point, however, eludes me still at the writing of this review. That it might just as easily elude others may have convinced him that he's nothing but a heartless beast. But I'm convinced that he is not one of those. But what is he? If anyone has read this book, please give me your 6 pence worth, and but be contented with the moon. Don't be like Charles. The Moon and Sixpence by Somerset Maughm.